Welcome back, fiber friends. Today, let's talk about mohair. So mohair locks have been some of my favorite locks to spin for a super long time now. I love mohair. It's silky, it's soft, I'm not allergic to it, which I am a little bit allergic to alpaca and camelids in general if you're new here, which is one of the reasons you don't see a ton of alpaca here, although it still sneaks its way into my stash because alpacas are adorable and I can't resist. I'm only a little allergic. I promise. But back to the mohair. So this is my first ever raw mohair fleece. This is the third place white kid mohair winner from New York Sheep and Wool. If I'm getting my category right, I might be a little off on that. But regardless, it's a super beautiful fleece. The first and second place options were still there, but I have to be honest, I did prefer this third place option. I have about 4 pounds of it. I have done a test scour, and so let's talk about that and how I'm going to approach scouring the rest of this in general. So first things first, why did I do a test scour? I really recommend if it's your first time washing a certain type of fleece, or if it's your first time washing a raw sheep or mohair fleece in general, do a test batch. Don't wash it all at once. That's just setting yourself up for failure, right? So if you mess it up once, you're messing up the whole thing. We don't have to do it that way. We can just do like a little 100-gram sample, which is kind of what I did. If I had to take like a rough estimate, I probably test scoured about 300 grams of this 4-pound fleece. So in the grand scheme of things, not very much. I still have all of this to clean. So this is the scoured fiber. I scoured it twice, no pre-soaking. So this again was just a test to see how dirty it was. Goats get into shenanigans more so than sheep do. I do think that if you've owned goats or like know people who own goats, they get up to stuff. And so I knew getting into this that it was going to probably be dirtier than a sheep fleece, even if it didn't have as much lanolin on it. These thoughts were definitely confirmed by the scouring. I think that with a pre-soak, I could probably get away with 2 rounds of scouring. Especially because, ooh, wait, I don't want to mix that in with my dirty fleece, never mind. Especially because I do plan on mordanting and dyeing all of it. This is the mordanted fiber. I think it looks significantly cleaner, for obvious reasons. It's kind of going through not another round of cleaning, but like it's under heat. Some of the grime is removed, and it's also been fluffed up a little bit just to like, I don't know, make sure everything takes a little bit more evenly. So knowing all of this, I do think I'm going to pre-soak the whole thing, and then I'm just going to treat it like a fine sheep fleece, but like a longer fine. I'm going to treat it like a Wensleydale fleece. That's how I plan on washing this. I just finished scouring the whole Wensleydale lamb fleece that I bought at New York Sheep and Wool. That was about 2 pounds, a little bit over that, but I think I have a little bit over 2 pounds now that it's scoured. I think it was about 3, like pre-skirting and scouring. You can see it drying in a pile on my bed. That's cute. That's very aesthetic. No, but I want to naturally dye all of this. I would really like to clean all of this fiber and get it mordanted before the end of November. That's a really lofty aspiration, considering I also want to do a yarn drop in November. Just a heads up for those of you who have been wanting to get your hands on some of my hand-spun yarn. There is finally going to be another yarn drop. It's been a while. But yeah, that's our plans for this. So you guys are going to come along with me. We are going to cold soak this first. And again, the one thing that I think you really just have to be worried about when it comes to scouring mohair is just knowing that it is finer. And so it does have some, it can be prone to felting. So you just have to be gentle. Another tip that I have when washing like lock structures like this in general, and talking to people, I have heard this advice passed on. However, I have not seen a lot of people online suggest this advice. When you're working with a really long stapled fleece, I don't recommend using those like fine garment or delicate swash bags. I think that it results in more felting because I don't know why. I don't know why. There's probably some science as to why. I just feel like the locks, they move around a lot more, they're really long, and they get tangled in there. I just think when they're free-floating, things end up a lot cleaner in general. I feel like it's just one more barrier that it kind of like has to get through, and it definitely depends on the way you go about scouring. Different people scour in different ways, so if this doesn't apply to you, like, take the advice or leave the advice, you know? I'm just one man. However, I personally think that washing something like this loose, just like in the scouring pot and not contained in anything is a little bit more effective. And then once, if you're really struggling to remove some of the grime, I really do recommend letting the fiber completely cool and then like fluffing it up like this and separating the locks so that it can permeate a little bit deeper on the next round of scouring. Now, before I actually cold soak this fiber, what's a cold soak? Why do we do it? It is just like it sounds. You're literally taking the fiber, you're putting it in some cold water for 8 to 24 hours. You'd be surprised the amount of stuff that just water can remove without any heat. And that's kind of the goal of a cold soak, is to maximize what you can remove without heat so that when you are scouring, all of that scouring wash and power and time can go to actually removing stuff that needs to be removed with heat, i.e. lanolin, grease, oils, etc. So yeah, that's why we do a cold soak. I personally, I really should cold soak everything. Like, I always say this, so take my advice. Don't do as I do as I say. I really swear by a cold soak. It does a lot. I'm not the first person to recommend this either. Please don't think that, like, I invented this technique. I did not. People have been doing this for so long as we've been processing sheet fleeces, because it's just a very effective way to get a jump on cleaning, and it's not a lot of work. You just fill up a bucket, you put the fleece in, you don't even need to add any soap, and then you just leave it, and you come back to it, and then you get to your scouring, and it makes it go a lot faster. Alright, fiber friends, welcome back. It's Friday now. Obviously, I have changed outfits. I'm breaking out like crazy because this is what happens every winter. My skin does so much better in warmer climates, no matter what I do, no matter how much I try to moisturize, whatever. It's okay. You're gonna ignore that because today we're gonna focus on getting some mohair wash, and I'm gonna tell you guys what I have been spinning because I feel like I haven't updated you on my WIPs in a while. I've been wanting to make some bats, but I literally have just been staring at my drum carder for days and days and days and have put nothing on it. I did finally start spinning this beautiful Matterroot braid, the Silk Flax Merino blend, and I think it's coming out fantastic. I love a tonal. I really do. I just think that they look nice always, and this is just really beautiful with the way that the silk is adding kind of like a variety and depth to it. I don't know. I really dig that. I'm happy with that. I finally prepared these beautiful pink Wensleydale curls. These are the last of that fleece that I scoured that was super duper old. I really like the way this natural dye came out. This was a mix of lac and then goldenrod, I think. And this is the color that we ended up with. I'm not mad about it. It's kind of a rose gold. I'd really like to get that finished and spun, but then also part of me is like, you really need to finish yarns for the drop because that drop needs to happen soon. I realized that I have a few more yarns than I thought I did, but also there's some stuff that I've just been meaning to get out of the studio and kind of some more like affordable hand spun yarn options that I kind of wanted to spin up before I did the drop. I have some yarns that I just never, some commercial like secondhand thrifted yarns that I just do not see myself using. And instead of passing them on back to the thrift store, specifically the same thrift store that I purchased them from, I would much rather ply them with like a hand spun single and see if I can make something that I like a lot more. So that's the game plan for that. I would really like to have a few of those included in the drop. I've seen some other hand spinners doing things like that and like combining commercial yarns lately, and I kind of want to get in on the trend. I don't know. But besides all of that, we need to scour some mohair. I think I'm going to use this Eucalan today because I am essentially out of Unicorn Power Scour. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I kind of used the last of it to finish scouring the Wensleydale. That's okay. I have a whole bottle of soak for my hand washes right now, so I think, I don't know, I have about, if this is a 17, wow, 16.9, but 17 fluid ounce bottle, I've used about half of this already, and you know what? It's almost Christmas. People always gift me bottles of stuff like this for Christmas because they know it's something that I'm actually going to use. It's always a joy to receive them as long as they're not like really bad scents. But people know me. They know that the lavender, the unscented are usually safe options, and I already know that someone has already told me that they got me a bottle of Unicorn Power Scour for Christmas, so I'm just gonna like wait before ordering another bottle, even though I really, really want to order another bottle. Another thing I wanted to update you guys on, just before we start this scouring process, was that I did place an order with Hobbi yarn. Very, very out of character for me. Not really the type of like yarns that generally interest me. But my sister asked me for a chunky knit, a chunky crochet hat for her and her bestie. And she wants one in cream and one in a light pink. And the hat example that she showed me is a chunky single ply yarn. A year ago, correct me if I'm wrong, but a year ago, you could not spit, you could not throw a rock without hitting some single ply chunky yarn. I hate that shit. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. I am really not a fan. I spin singles very rarely. I spun the first singles that I've ever liked super recently, in the past like month. Those Wensleydale singles were the first singles that I ever looked at, and I was like, these look beautiful as singles. I'm very picky about my singles. I don't like roving type yarn because a lot of it tends to pill because it's too low twist. So I thought it would be easy. I thought it would be easy to find this yarn. It has not been. It has not been. And so what I did is, there is a Black Friday sale going on. And I think it's not Udon that I got, but it's very similar to Udon. It's not Snowstorm either. It's a thick single ply, and I got like 3 or 4 balls of it in just cream, in the cream color that my sister wanted. And then I'm gonna dye it the pink that I want, because I just could not find a pink that I was satisfied with. The closest thing I could find was one that was named light purple, and so I was concerned that it looked pinker on the screen than it was going to arrive, and so we nixed that plan. So I did place that order. I also added, just so I could get the free shipping, I added some cotton yarn in a few different colors on, because I've been really wanting to do a pigeon tapestry. I've seen other creators do some like pigeon tapestries, pigeon crochet things lately. I don't know if I've ever shown this off on the channel, but this is the new pigeon tattoo, my most recent tattoo that I got. There we go. Isn't he cute? I love him. I love pigeons. I'm kind of obsessed with them. I went with a very similar color scheme to this for those yarns. And so, I don't know. I'm gonna see how they look. If it's not a win, it's fine, because it was not that expensive. And again, I had the free shipping. This is not sponsored in any way, shape, or form. Again, it's not my usual like place to source yarn. However, for affordable holiday gifts, I'm gonna put it out there. Like, I do think they have the market cornered in that regard. If you need a large amount of yarn or lots of different types of yarn and you need them at an affordable price, I do think that that's a great place to look, especially if you like those holiday themed colorways, because when the holidays pass, those like themed colorways tend to go on like super sale, so you can pick them up for like super duper cheap. And so especially if you're like a sock knitter, I've heard they have really good sock yarn. I don't make a lot of gifts. I'm gonna be so real with you guys. I don't make a lot of gifts. And when I do, they're almost always hats. I make some wild hats for the holidays, and I need to make a few this year. So I might make that a whole video where I crochet a bunch of hats for all of the white elephants that I have. Because last year I did it for a few of them, and all of them were a hit. People were like fighting over them. So I think I'm gonna do that again. And I'll show you guys that process. But let's get to boiling some water. Let's scour some yarn. Let's see how this Eucalan does compared to Unicorn Power Scour when it comes to scouring. Alrighty, fiber friends. So as promised, I did it. I soaked a bunch of the mohair. It is over here in these bowls and containers right now. Lukewarm water. I'm gonna leave them for at least 2 hours. So it's like almost 10 o'clock now, around noon. I'll dump them, and then I'll start the actual scouring process. Again, this will just help get some of the grime and the dirt. There's not much VM in this fleece, but some of the VM will probably fall out to the bottom, and then we'll get to actually cleaning, and it'll kind of speed up the whole process. I know some other creators are a little bit more meticulous, a little bit more organized and sophisticated with how they do their soaking and washing, but we really do keep it low tech here. If I can guarantee anything from my content, it's going to be that I'll give you a lower cost suggestion for whatever I'm doing if it is sort of a higher tech setup. Alrighty, fiber friends, we are 2 hours later, and this is the water. Again, just from a little bit of time, 2 hours, and cold water. This is all the grime that we have removed. Bo is enjoying the extra outdoor deck time today, and I'm about to empty this one as well. So let's get this fiber out. All right, so all the dirty water is dumped. While I am getting water heated for scouring, I am going to try to mordant a little bit more fiber. I'm thinking if I do like a little bit at a time, it just won't be as overwhelming. So we're going to use this potassium alum sulfate. My go-to way that I do this is, and I'm gonna flip the camera around for this part actually. So with this mordant, if you over mordant it or add too much of this to your fiber, it's gonna get sticky, and there's not gonna be a way to remove that extra potassium alum sulfate or that stickiness after the fact. So you need to make sure to weigh everything out. What I do is I add about 7 or 8% alum to every, like, whatever the weight of fiber that I have. I usually try to do 100 grams of fiber and then like 7 grams of potassium alum sulfate. There are some folks who recommend up to 10%, but I think this just helps prevent everything from getting sticky. Today, I decided to weigh out about 150 grams of fiber. So instead of needing only 7 grams, we're gonna need 10.5 grams of mordant. I think I'll double check the math in a second. There we have 10 grams of a really suspicious looking white powder, if I'm being honest with you. Now, one thing to know, and I've never really, I dabble a little bit in dyeing yarn, but not much. I've mostly dabbled in dyeing fiber, is that fiber, you do need to be as gentle as possible, more gentle than you would if it was already in a yarn state. And so you don't want to boil anything while you're necessarily mordanting or dyeing, because you don't want to felt the wool. So you just have to be careful about watching the temp. This water is finally hot enough for me to consider it like the mordanting has started. It's like on a very low simmer. And it's about 12:55, so I'll take this off in about an hour, and hopefully this water will be warmed up super soon and we can start the scouring. A little B-roll for you guys. These are just the labels that I make to label the fiber while it's mordanted. It doesn't stay that way very long. It ends up getting dyed, and so I don't like to waste whole labels or even like new labels. I use old labels that I messed up for other projects, or just, you know, labels that I am throwing away. Here is some of the fiber dried and mordanted, a little bit of the mohair that I dyed solar dyeing style with lac, and then just some finished skeins of singles that I spun recently that I'm actually really happy with. Alrighty, it's a few days later. I have dry samples of enough of the washed fiber, mordanted fiber, etc., that I can show you guys some side-by-sides and tell you my feelings about washing this wool with Eucalan, and then also why pre-soaking is so important. So I have 2 different samples here. One of these was pre-soaked, but it was washed with Eucalan, and one of them wasn't pre-soaked, but it was washed with Unicorn Power Scour. And I do think that there's a difference in the way that these fleeces washed and came out. This is the one that was pre-soaked, washed with Eucalan. I do think if you look, there is less dirt buildup on the tips, right? This fleece that I did not pre-soak has more dirt buildup on the tips that just did not go away with the washing. However, and I think that you can see it in this is a whiter, this came out whiter. This sample came out a lot whiter. And I think that that's because I used the Unicorn Power Scour on it. And those are my thoughts and notes. Like, I don't think that the Eucalan did a bad job. I'm not going to re-scour this fiber. In fact, I've already mordanted some of it, which has also removed some of the yellowness between you and I. And then I'm dyeing over it, and a lot of it is going to end up oranges and pinks, so the yellow is not such a problem. And honestly, the fiber that I already dyed purple, newsflash for next episode, a little spoiler alert for the next episode. We're going to be doing some dyeing experiments, and I'm going to be showing you guys what I've been working on in terms of natural dyeing, because I'm really proud of the progress that I have made. But yeah, that's how I feel about this. I don't know. I'm glad it's done. I am mordanting more fiber today. I'm going to be using a mordant that I've never used before. I actually have it right up here. It's right over here. Yeah. So this is a Bengala dye prefix, and it's specifically supposed to be used for certain types of dyes. One of those dyes is susuzome, or it's a Japanese pine dye, Japanese pine tar dye that is a really neat natural black. I really, really want to dye with this. I have never tried something like this before, and these have been sitting around for a while, so that's what we're gonna do next episode while I talk to you guys about kind of like my natural dyeing experiments in general and how it's been going. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Again, I don't know. I know that maybe some people won't glean any useful information from these things, but I do think that when I was a young spinner and I first started like washing my own fleeces, seeing somebody else just do the process, even if said process wasn't that complicated, just made me feel a little bit better, made me feel a little bit less anxious about the outcome of my stuff. I will say that for anybody who is new to washing mohair, when there might be a point after you've scoured it that you think that you might have felted it, just because of the way that mohair tangles kind of when it's wet. Let it dry. Do not make any final judgments on really anything until it is entirely dry. I'm going to talk more about that in reference to like dyeing the next episode, but that goes as much, that the same goes for scouring. Like, don't give up on something until it's completely dry and it's safe to rifle through, because also wet fiber just naturally tangles more. It's harder to remove the M from wet fiber. There's a lot of reasons to just not like muss with it about when you have it just like sitting and drying. So let it dry before you decide that it's completely ruined. And yeah, just have a little fun. Just have a little fun. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you have any suggestions for other types of content that you would like to see related to yarn, spinning, or really anything else, drop it in the comments below.